Good morning. Happy Saturday. I thank you guys for joining me today, this morning. I had a great words of encouragement to share with those people who, might know God or knows God and wants deeper insights about God. I'm pretty sure that the Bible, you know, has words of instructions and it teaches people how to become a better person, how to create or connect, have a better relationship with God, and a lot of words of wisdom, knowledge, insights, things like that. But the Bible has many perspectives, right? The physical perspective is what you see with your eyes, the mental is what you read and your understanding, and your spiritual side, which is in fact the final side of who you truly are. And who you truly are comes from God. You see, in the beginning, God said He created man, right? He created everything else, but He created man specifically in His image. And not only in His image, right? Because in His image, the way He created was how He looks, how His likeness, things like that, in a miniature form. However, what He also did was He put Himself in us. And that tells a lot, you know. It gives a lot of insight of who God is and what God is mainly trying to do with us. You see, what I mean by this is a lot of people are confused and thinking that when God made them or made people, He put just a minor in some people and He put more in others. He put the same amount because He says that He put Himself in us. So if He did that, what that means is He gave us equal powers, equal abilities. However, what we need to realize is how to project those abilities, how that ability grows. How do we activate to the next level? Because a lot of times, right, we get stuck into thinking that, God has certainly called us in a certain way, and that's the way we only need to be. However, His ability is unlimited. And if His ability is unlimited, that means what is in us is Him, and we are unlimited. It just, we don't know how to activate it, how to use it. And so we are asked that we are supposed to connect in fellowship. Now, the fellowship part gives us a more insight of what others also know, and we can strong and spiritually empower ourselves. That is important simply because with God, there is no limit to your potential. However, with the flesh, there's limitations simply because the flesh is just temporary. And so the unlimited part is what we need to connect with others that are also of understanding to also grow and evolve. And so we do it in many ways. We can revise, we can read, we can encourage each other. However, we need to understand the Word of God from the spiritual perspective because physically, right, we might see faults with it. We might see things that do not connect or resonate with our what? Our, our thoughts or our experience. However, our spirit is unlimited. Our spirit knows the Word. But how do you know your spirit? Your gauge, because your spirit is coming from God. And if it's coming from God, there is no limitations. It's only that is subject to the flesh. So, because if the flesh is going on the opposite side, what the flesh is considered great to other people or great to the physical is not so great for the spirit, because the spirit does not eat the same food as the flesh. So these are many things that hinders the growth of the spirit if we don't understand that the spirit is on one side and the flesh is on the other side, and they're both trying to battle to gain access and control to the mind, because the mind ultimately releases whatever is abundantly to it, whether it's the flesh version of it or whether it's the spirit version of it. And so God spoke to many, many disciples, many prophets in the Bible, and He told them one by one what they need to do or how they need to do it, right? Not that it limits them from other things. It just, that is the best way and the best avenue for them to be able to grow a more comfortable relationship. Because what happens is when you grow in this in the walk with God, your spirit is growing, but your spirit has no limit to the level of growth. As long as you start to understand the will of God, as long as you start to understand the power levels of God, because you see, God did not put limitations on us, but He put us inside a flesh, a shell of limitations. Saying it's like you're in a suit, right? The suit has certain dimensions. However, if the suit, right, is under the will of the Spirit, then the suit has no limits, because then you are able to project blessings. You're able to do so many other things. However, the Spirit is not always physically seen. It is not what so many people can see unless God has opened your eyes, meaning that your spiritual level is so intense that you're able to see beyond the flesh. But all of these things are very important to your growth. And you have to analyze this on a daily basis, right? The Word of God has three meanings for every single word: the flesh version, the mental version, and the spiritual version. You see, Jesus Christ came, right? And he wasn't the biggest person physically, but spiritually, he was. You see what I'm saying? He was the most knowledgeable because he came to do the spiritual work. The spiritual work is the final work because there is no beyond that. There is no end time beyond the spiritual work. That is continuous. That is who we truly are. And that is what we need in order for us to become better, in order for things to change. Changes that we are seeing physically is not always the best of news, simply because people are more and more daily forgetting about the spiritual aspect of things. They are forgetting that spiritually things need to grow, things need to be intense, things need to increase, because guess what? We are always in a spiritual war. Now, we know that in war, in spiritual war, we need ammunition, we need protection, right? We need consistency and confidence and power increase. We need all of those things. But if there is no practice, right? If there's none of those things, and there's always, you know, you are saying, yes, I read the Bible every day, and, it tells me the same thing. But in the spiritual side, it's unlimited. You see, the example is physically 2 plus 2 will equal 4. We know that, right? But spiritually, it's not the same, because spiritual is different. There is no limit to the spiritual side. So if there's no limit to the spiritual side, then that means it's how much and how often you intensify your spiritual side. That level is unlimited. You see, do you remember when Jesus fed 5,000 people with just what, two loaves of bread and some fish, and he prayed, and then basically the basket kept filling up, kept filling up, kept filling up. But before he did that, right? He tested his disciples. He asked them questions like, what do you guys think of this? How we gonna come to solving this? Because we don't have the money, and we have 5,000 people to feed. How are we going to be able to feed them? And Jesus already is the answer. However, he want to find out from his disciples. He want to know to them, okay, what kind of solution, you know, right? What kind of solution, right? What kind of solution are we gonna come up with? However, and they said, well, we need a certain amount of money, and we needed all these things, but all those things represent the flesh and the mind, meaning, oh, we have to think of a strategy plan, or we need to come up physically with the money to be able to buy the loaves of bread and the fish, right? That's basically what they were thinking that they needed to do. And basically, Jesus was hindering, do you not know me? Like, are you not of understanding that I am that I am? I am the spirit. I am the one that, you know, created all of these things. So I am the final. So I am the solution. You see what I'm saying? And of course, once he said, bring the baskets to me, he prayed. He, put the baskets up in heaven, looked up, and the baskets was overflowing to the point that all 5,000 people ate all that food, and there was abundance left. That is showing you there's no limit to the spirit. And all those stories about Jesus, the miracle, about when he was at the wedding and waking up Lazarus and all of them, before he did all those miracles, he had one specific thing in common. Did the people believe what he is doing? Do you believe him? Do you understand that with belief, there is increase of faith? And with increase of faith, there is no limit to your potential, because that is how your spirit works. That is how your spirit is activated, right? And the activation, because the spirit, you didn't create your spirit. You see what I'm saying? It's coming from God, right? God just gave you a gauge of what? Of He gave you a gauge of will, like a willpower, yay or nay, do the right thing or don't do the right thing. That is your understanding. But the spirit is coming from him, and the yay and nay is going to decide your intensity of your spirit, your power levels of your spirit, of increase of levels, because there is levels, right? There's no limit to your levels. However, to your understanding and your beliefs and your faith limits you, right? A faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. So that means, imagine a faith of what's it called, a mountain, the size of a mountain, what you can do. You can change the order of things. There are certain things that are set in a foundational way that you cannot change, because that is God's foundation. That is before time, right? But within where you are, the atmosphere that you're in, you can change. Do you remember when Jesus Christ, when the people, the Pharisees, they want to test Jesus, and they're like, they brought like a prostitute, a person that, committed prostitution, right? And they're like, you know what? We're going to do this, and we're going to test Jesus on, to see what he says about this. And they brought the, what's it called, prostitute for, and said, Jesus, what do you say about this? And Jesus basically bent down, and he started drawing in the sand. He started writing words in the sand. And then he finally made a line and says, if anyone that has not sinned should pick up a stone and stone her. And everybody that picked up the rocks, They dropped all the rocks and they walked away. And he forgave the lady. You see, wisdom is something that it's part of you, but the activation of it is something that you need to work on. Because guess what? The closer you are with God, the wiser you become. Moses was close to God, got the Ten Commandments, but you see in Moses after 40 days, his hair was black when he was going into the Mount Zion. He came out and his hair was all white, right? Because of the closeness, the power, the wisdom that he obtained. And you see, God can use anybody. You notice anywhere he comes, there's light projecting. That means life is there. He is the life. So life has to be wherever he is. If darkness is there and Jesus appears there, if God appears there, there's light surrounding everything and intensifying everything. And that's what people need to understand. God's with you only if you believe. God's with you only if you increase your faith. God is with you if you spend time with him. And spending time is not the times where it's always, with people and stuff like that. Yes, that helps you to increase your fellowship, your power. But your deep, deep relationship must be in privacy. What you and God discuss in private, what you talk about in private, who you truly are in private. Because in privacy is where you are defined. And privacy is where your character is created. And all of these things are made. Hmm? You see, things take time to be made. Things that are great takes time to be made. For example, if you are baking a cake or you're making something, when you create these things, right, you have to put in the oven. You have to put in the baker. Notice that you cannot stand there, or you could, but everything that is happening where your eyes, your physical eyes cannot see. You cannot see exactly what is happening for the cake to be made to that degree where it tastes the right way and it's properly made. It just, you have a time. It says maybe 30 minutes or an hour. And after that, okay, it's supposed to be finished.